Hey folks, Rob Daniels here from Visions in Sound on 98.5 CKWR. It's a movie, TV, and video game soundtrack program that I'm more than happy to bring you every week. Well, next year, on June 7th, is my 25th anniversary. Oh, by the way, the little guy that's on my shoulder here, that's Gimli. He is a show cat. He's been with me for 17 of those almost 25 years. So yeah, glad to have him here, and I'm glad to have you here. So last week I talked about the score to Titus. This week, week 2, as you can see here, week 2 is going to be, where is it? Oh, there it is. The 1998 score to the game Metal Gear Solid. It's music by a slew of people. Unfortunately have Japanese names, and I'm not going to butcher them. It's not fair to them, but it's quite a number of them. So I think it's about 4. In any case, the score itself comes from this PlayStation game, Metal Gear Solid. Now, Metal Gear Solid is one of those scores that I was kind of became, well, okay, I have to put a little bit of a story here. Back in 98, when the game came out, I rented it on when you could rent games from a place called Jumbo Video. I rented it, I got it home, I played it on my system, my PlayStation, and I was obsessed. So I went back and I bought it. I bought the game. And from that time on, I was obsessed. When every single moment, it was either Metal Gear Solid or Silent Hill. Metal Gear Solid actually traveled with me on one particular job that I was doing. I was doing security for a short track speed skating competition that was going on in Waterloo, Ontario. And I was asked to do security. Sit in the television mobile overnight. So what I did, grabbed my PlayStation, hooked it up through the many televisions on the mobile, and did a multi-screen gameplay. Yeah, quite a bit there. Anyway, so the score for the game is fairly standard game stuff, atmospheric, Hein D. Mantis's Hymn, which is a lot of great characters in this film, or sorry, in this video game. So yeah, some fantastic stuff. So if you haven't heard it, try and pick it up. I know the game is still playable. I can still play it on the original hardware, which I do have a PlayStation in the other room. So in any case, yeah, that's the whole deal here with Metal Gear Solid. And like I said, for a while I became quite obsessed with said game. So yeah, Metal Gear Solid. I was obsessed with the game. To the point where, like I said, I played it all over the place and all the time. Now, the soundtrack as well. I'm going to get to that in just a second here. But the soundtrack itself, again, fun, very interesting, just to the point where I will have to admit I was obsessed with it too. I searched for it in the very early internet online. It's probably about 99, 2000. I found a 6-track setup. I don't know where I found it. It was a sketchy download, but I still downloaded it and I put it on a disc. So for that it was up there for a while. So I looked for it. I knew I wasn't going to get it, so I did my first big online purchase. I can't remember exactly where I found it, but I ended up getting Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill, both from a Konami website. And at that time, online purchases were sketchy at best. You weren't sure if you were ever going to get them. I did. I ended up getting the CD in the end. Right, Gimli? Ended up getting that in the end. So I get it home, I start listening to it, and then of course on there, so I ended up becoming obsessed with this song called "The Best Is Yet to Come," sung in Gaelic by Aoife Ní Ghearr, which is the artist on the disc. To the point where I went out to a library to try and translate it. I was able to somewhat semi-translate it. Now the words were in the liner notes, but they didn't match. They didn't quite match up with what I thought it was. It didn't make any sense, because there are certain words in Gaelic that you can kind of translate to English. So there was that. In any case. So yeah, ended up becoming quite obsessed with the soundtrack. And like I said, the song done by Rika Miranaka, sung by Aoife Ní Ghearr. So yeah, I, for the longest time, this was long before, I remember looking for the English translation of the Russian from The Hunt for Red October. It took a long time, but that ended up finding too. So there was eventually an English version of the song that was released. I think, in my opinion, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't have the same punch that the Gaelic one has. It's quite a wonderful song there. This made the game feel very much the best non-war war game, or anti-war war game out there. So the thing is that you had to, and it's a third-person shooter, wonderful overhead, sometimes non-overhead, sometimes side. Hideo Kojima, the creator of the game, did a fantastic job, and he went on to do quite a few other Metal Gear Solid games in the years, but the first one, not the remake, not the updated graphics, but the very first one, was one of those games that it stuck with me and gives me wonderful nostalgia. Great Gimli? Yeah, that's it. In any case, the game itself, fantastic game. I love playing it. But the score, like I said earlier, the score is very atmospheric. It has this wonderful, some of it's driving, some of it's sneaky, some of it has this, like I said, very atmospheric style scoring. So it's really cool that way. If you haven't heard it, pick it up. It is, I believe, still available in certain forms. But yeah, it's really cool. Now, I became somewhat obsessed, but in the end, it became one of those interesting little finds out there. And I might get into Silent Hill a little later, but that's a video game score that's a real challenge to listen to. And if you haven't had a chance, by all means, right, Gim? Yeah. In any case, if you are interested in what I do, yeah, I'll be doing this again next week for week number 3. I've got it all set, but I want to keep it kind of under wraps for now, because it's actually kind of one of my favorite TV scores. How about I just leave it that? In any case, if you're interested, you can find me on Visions in Sound every Saturday morning, 12 to 2 a.m. on 98.5 CKWR. You can also find me on my website, visionsinsound.ca. I'm also on Good Pods, a downloadable app for your phone or other type devices. I can be found on Twitter at Visions Sound. Well, they call it X now, but I still call it Twitter. And you can also find me on many other of the podcatchers out there, including Apple Music. So yeah, thanks folks for watching this week. And like I said, tune in next week. Like, share, and subscribe. And get out there and listen to soundtracks that are different and interesting. And I'm hopefully going to be continuing that in the next couple of weeks. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.